Hey, all you beautiful people out there. Today I want to share with you the system that I have used to effectively heal myself and return to thriving health. I call this system the 4 principles of self-mastery, and that's exactly what it is. This is the foundation of any self-mastery practice, any system you can use to effectively heal yourself and return to thriving health, and thereby get to master your experience, as we have talked about in the previous episodes. If you haven't checked them out already, then go back and see how you can attain true self-mastery within the body so that you can attain true self-mastery in the mind as well. Now, what do you do when you want to find the system for truly mastering your experience as a human being? Do you try to invent the big spoon yourself, or do you build on the back of giants? Of course you build on the back of giants, right? This is what our ancestors wanted for us. That's why they wrote down the systems that they had spent a lifetime developing so that we could adopt them and modify them to our modern environment. So this system was put together by Paul Chek, who had built on the back of giants like Hippocrates and other Western thinkers, combined with Eastern philosophies like TCM and Taoism. Paul Chek is an incredible teacher, an incredible human being, and he has spent a lifetime researching the issues of human health today in our modern environment. Anything from the food chain to modern agriculture, to the chemically altered environment, etc, etc, etc. Exercise kinesiology. Paul Chek is the man. I owe him a lot of respect. He has helped me a lot in my life. But I have modified this system that he calls the 1, 2, 3, 4 approach to the specific work that I do with men, with an emphasis on truth, direction, integrity, and all these values that are super important for men to have in their lives. So I call this system the 4 principles of self-mastery, and this is how I teach and use them. Alright, well then let's dive into it. And of course, if you have any comments going into this presentation or throughout it, then share it with me in the comments below. I'm happy to take this discussion further. And look, when we share our experience and what we take from the teachings that we are given, that is when we can give our perspective to other people, and then we really evolve this process of learning, okay? Then we are learning together. I can never present all of reality to you. Reality will depend on how you perceive it. So please give me your perception in the comment, and then let's continue this learning together. So go ahead, share your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button. I really appreciate it. It's gonna help this channel grow and help us get education out to even more people on the foundational principles of self-healing and self-mastery. And with that being said, I think it's time to get to the real presentation of today. Let's go. This is the 4 principles of self-mastery, and it's about living your truth, accessing your own free will, and it's about allying the inner doctors and in the end, living the Tao. To the right, you have Paul Chek, who originally put together this method, and he's the founder of the Chek Institute. We owe him a lot of respect. Thank you, Paul. All right, so first off, we have live your truth. Jerry Wish is a psychologist who once said, when you have a big enough dream, you do not need a crisis. A crisis is when things are not going your way and you can't find your way out of it, right? So when you have a dream, you have a guiding star, a destination, and will always be able to know where to go during bad times. Ergo, when you have a big enough dream, you do not need a crisis. And it's a curious fact that in many of the ancient traditions, there was some kind of description of the ultimate creator as being someone who dreamt life into existence. And this is literally the human experience, right? We are dreamers of life. For example, have you ever been in a really dark state of mind one day? Realize then how the whole day seems dull and gray, but if you, for example, wake up instead feeling fresh and happy, suddenly the day also seems brighter and people around you nice and friendly to be around. And if you don't have your own dream and haven't made up your own beliefs, then you will live out someone else's dream. Often the beliefs we hold about life is not consciously made, but beliefs that are passed down from our parents or society at large, which we haven't rebelled against or haven't succeeded in rebelling against because we haven't been able to create a more powerful and more successful belief system. So this is where we see people living lives they actually don't like to live because they haven't had the tools and the guidance to make up their own beliefs and create a dream worth living. The law of facilitation reads like this: when an impulse has passed once through a certain set of neurons, known as the facilitated section, to the exclusion of others, it will tend to take the same course on future occasions. And each time that impulse traverses this path, on all future occasions, the resistance will be less. So that is what the law of facilitation says. And what that tells us is that the mind's default is to relive the past. This is why it often takes a dream bigger than ourselves to make lasting change happen. And so, by getting clear on the dream that is worth changing for and creating real values that are aligned with your dream, that are dream affirming, you can now start to create your future instead of reliving the past. Okay? But to do this, we need to make use of our own free will, which is one of the most powerful things you can do as a human being. When we learn to use choice making to our advantage, we really become extremely powerful because we now can use what the universe throws at us to shape the world how we want it and not be the victim to the change happening around us. And as I've alluded to, you are extremely gifted to have free will, so please make use of it. I mean, think about it. You are probably the only creature on earth having access to this enormous gift. You see, the jaguar over here is like all other animals controlled by hormones, biochemical messengers, and impulses. And I mean, we are as well because we are animals. But we have the ability on top of that to use free will to actually change our behavior, change our habits, and even changing our personalities quite radically. Yes, you do not need to stay the same person your parents, society, and the food you ate made you. You can actually become the person you will love to become. All right? Life is ever changing. We are subject to change. The world is impermanent, right? One of the Buddhist truths. Change is just constant and something that we have to deal with. If you don't change, the world will change for you, is something that I like to say. And so, to effectively use choice making to your advantage, you gotta understand the three choices. Okay, these are the only three choices that exists. You always have a choice, and any choice you will take, we can always categorize as one of these three. The optimal choice is what's best for you and for your dream team, that being the people that supports you in realizing your dream. Then we have the suboptimal choice, which is what's best for you, but not for your dream team. And then we have the choice of indifference. The choice of doing nothing is always also a choice. Okay, change is very hard to make if the people around you are dragging you into old habits, right? Life manifests through co creation. Your dream team then are the people around you who support you in realizing your dream. You want to have people that are helping you in realizing this dream and then keeping them close to you, because attaining your dream all by yourself is going to be very, very hard. So here you can see the physical, emotional, and mental and spiritual consequences often associated with these different choices. And as you can see, the optimal choice gives way to joy, vitality, well-being, openness, and love, because we can't have love without a state of openness. For example, having sex, you can't experience love if you are not open. Especially for the woman, but also for the man, else it just becomes some kind of pump and dump experience. So we co create efficiently when we stay united, and we have a progressive evolution when this is a reality. And that's all within the optimal choice. The optimal choice gives way to these experiences of a progressive evolution.
Then the suboptimal choice. Well, the suboptimal choice gives way to vice because we often need to rely on drugs and stimulants when we are working all alone. This turns into depression, fatigue, disease, closeness, which is the opposite of openness, which leads to the opposite of love, which is fear. So this obviously can turn into a disease state if done excessively. Either way, it's ineffective to be divided and working alone, and it becomes a regressive evolution. And then there is the choice of indifference, which is to be apathetic, right? And as you can see here, it's in the middle. It's painted with red and gray, and that's kind of because it's in a gray zone. It's actually sometimes the right choice to take. It halts the evolution. And sometimes, if you're not ready to take the optimal choice, it's better to halt evolution and wait until you can return and take the optimal choice. A good example is if you're fighting with a good friend or a spouse, and you just can't meet this person from the heart because you're fired up by emotions. Sometimes it's a good idea to step back, wait until you can meet this person from a place of the heart, and take the optimal choice. Also, we often choose indifference when we are stuck in dogmatic beliefs, and this is when indifference becomes a very, very bad choice, right? Because we halt our own evolution and become a puppet for this ideas evolution, and like this, we become deficient in resources, nutrients, and wealth. So this leads to fatigue, and in the end, I mean, since our body is dependent on energy, and you put it into a state of fatigue, then it doesn't have the energy to run its functions, and that will in the end manifest as a disease. All right, so now we have allying the inner doctors, which probably is the biggest gem within this four-step system. This is your inner guidance system for creating and sustaining well-being and body-mind harmony. The fact is that we are of nature's design, and that nature is a self-regenerating and self-healing design. So that means that we are self-healing organisms as well, right? This has been the course of evolution. It has been for nature to know itself into more and more depth, more and more complexity, and to know how to overcome problems of a bigger and bigger magnitude and always come back stronger. This is ancient wisdom of all of the healing traditions, and something we apparently have forgotten a little bit about in our modern days, but we should return to work with nature and with this wisdom, and we will return to optimal health again. So the freedom that comes with allying your inner doctors are just immense. Many of us, I certainly know I did, feel that we are trapped in this body that we have to feed and take care of, while we really just want to enjoy life, right? Go eat burgers and drink beer and have unprotected sex and smoke lots of cigarettes. This is so ass backwards. You are only able to enjoy all of these things because you have a body. But what happens is that we are often unable to enjoy life through our bodies because we feel uneasy in it. Some feel chronic pain, some feel fatigued, some can't get hard when it matters. That's not a funny situation. And some have addictions to one substance or the others, which is often what this situation leads into. Because if you're not able to enjoy the natural state of your body, feeling energized, feeling good, feeling happy, then you need to take substances to make your body feel these things. When you haven't allied your inner doctors, life becomes an uphill battle against nature itself, instead of being this easy pleasure ride of lustful sex, high energy, clear-headed focus, and strength, and empowerment to go pursue your dreams. According to Hippocrates, we can narrow down the management of human health to three doctors. Here you see diet, quiet, and happiness. But now, since life back in ancient Greece wasn't sedentary and moving was an unavoidable and integral part of life, they didn't face any issues with moving, right? But in our sedentary days today, we must include one more doctor. And here you have Dr. Movement. So diet, quiet, movement, and happiness. These four doctors encompasses everything that we can do for our health as human beings. When we ally these four doctors and live by their advice, we start experiencing thriving health and a life without sickness. They truly become the last four doctors you'll ever need, as Paul Chek puts it. These doctors are directly in charge of all the major and minor organ systems and functions in our bodies. As Hippocrates said, and I'm paraphrasing here, the human being is that organism made of an infinite amount of variables in which human health and disease is possible. So instead of trying to micromanage this infinite amount of variables and get stressed out about it, we simply look at the overall macro picture where we have the greatest impact and live by the needs and advice by the inner doctors, and we get everything in return. So here you see a quote by the man himself, Hippocrates. A wise man should consider that health is the greatest of human blessings and learn by his own thought to derive benefit from his illness. We need to take on illness and dis-ease as an opportunity to get to know our unique body mind. That is what this system allows for. You have your unique guidelines within each of the doctors, and when dis-ease occurs, you look at where you have been diverting from your path, you fix it, and your body returns to thriving health. So we work on fine tuning our relationship with the four doctors and getting clearer on what we need to reach our optimal potential for expressing health. And when this becomes a reality, we just follow the advice from our doctors and never get sick again. So the way we ally these doctors are to create core values around each of the doctors for what we need to express optimal health and live life how we like it. Of course, our core values are aligned with our big dream, so we make sure to live in accordance with our inner truth and be living the life we love. So we are honoring that we are living the human experience through the body, right? We don't just want to go pursue our dream because that will be a superficial dream if we don't take the whole body's well being into account here. All right, so here we are. We have come into alignment with our truth. We are now living our own truth and not the belief system adopted from our parents and society, which didn't work to make any of them happy. We have accessed our own free will to use choice making for our advantage. We have allied the inner doctors to honor our health and well being. And now we have to live the Tao, which is all about balance. Now, we know that nature is a self healing design, that balance is what nature inherently seeks. So, to use this deep wisdom of working with nature, the Taoist tradition created the symbol of yin and yang. And yin and yang helps us to stay in balance. When we are in balance, the organism can respond and act properly, and we experience thriving health and well being. Let's see some examples of this. So, here we see the qualities of yin and yang, the two forces that in a constant dance creates everything within the universe. And as you can see, they are actually one, right? One is within the other, meaning that they both come from the fundamentally same source, and such it is with everything within the universe. Within yin hides the inevitable potential of yang, and within yang, the potential of yin. So let's see examples of how this plays out. So here we have, for example, wet, right? When the monsoon has been going hard and it has been excessively wet, the land is mud. What happens naturally? Well, dryness starts to come, right? And we see this again in catabolic response when we have been working out. For example, if you go to the gym for an hour and just bust your bones up, what will your body scream to you to do? It will scream for some food, and it will scream for you to lay down. And this is your body, nature, screaming for an anabolic response. I see this all the time, and I'm sure you do as well. People being on either side of an extreme. Why has this become so common? The fact is that we modern human beings have lost all connections to the real wisdom of the Tao and how to work with nature and realize the thriving health that nature has the perfect recipe for, right? A recipe written by the course of evolution, a recipe that has stood the test of time, of famine, of catastrophe and war. But now we have a radically altered environment. And remember that it takes at least 50,000 years for our genes to change naturally due to the course of evolution. We have changed our environment with chemicals, altered the environment, altered the food, altered everything within our environment with chemicals, and with how we live our lives. We live sedentary and all of this stuff. So our bodies have not had the chance to rewrite the recipe for health, and we are defying the natural recipe for health. And that's why we see these weird instances. So we forget that working out is stressful and requires energy and rest to be done successfully, and we have people cutting calories while doing excessive workout, and that leads to this dude down here on the floor, completely fatigued, burned out, low libido and sex drive because he overspent his energy in the gym. And on the other hand, we have this guy over here laying in the sofa. He doesn't look like he is enjoying what he's watching very much, right? He's just zoning out. And we see the same symptoms when we become sedentary because the body requires movement to be alive and vital. When we don't provide the body with movement, the energy becomes stagnant and we get all sorts of low energy symptoms like the ones mentioned just before. And the same goes for our relationship to food, right? The body very clearly tells us when to eat and when to rest and digest, but sometimes we read studies or listen too much to advice from others, or we get ideals about how we should look and how much we should eat to look that way, again, taken from studies about studies and books about books. And when this happens, we again obstruct the natural processes within the body and create these dis-ease and unhappiness states. So the fact that balance equals health and happiness shows up in every aspect of our lives, even our personalities. You know, the person who is very high energy always and just keeps talking and talking and doesn't really manage to listen. The energy is so intense with this person and it feels like your heart is never at rest, right? That doesn't feel good and it's not a nice interaction. We also know a person who is completely fatigued, deflated, someone who is depressed, and his energy just feels so dense and like kind of just drags us down with him. We may start yawning or just want to get away from him to get our energy back. These are both examples of men that, because of an unregulated personality, can't enjoy their own lives. Their energy is so imbalanced that the joy of what in mindfulness is called equanimity isn't there, and therefore life seems like a task to get through. So, as far as I'm concerned, there's really only one way of realizing thriving health and happiness, and that is by mastering these principles. You know, it's so simple and has such a huge impact on how you feel and how others will feel your presence. It's even so simple that you can help your family and friends to learn the principles after you've been taught the process and learned to master them. This method takes care of your body, care of your mind and spirit, and it's the most reliable way of realizing thriving health.
This system should be taught in the schools, and I really hope that it one day will. I sure will teach it to my kids, that's for sure. It's so simple and then it has such a huge impact on how you feel and how other people will feel your presence, on your total experience in general. It's so important to have a simple framework for working with this super complicated existence that it is to be in a human body and be a part of this web of life. It's a complicated existence, and for navigating that, we need a simple framework, and that's what this system provides. When you have a dream and live by the core values that are guiding you towards that destination, that is when you are living in full integrity with yourself and are leading the life that you wish to live, that you are living your own dream. And as I said, we are dreamers of life. If we don't live our own dream, then we are living someone else's. You gotta have your dream and you gotta live it. You see, this is the way to be a strong, confident and secure man. If we don't have a simple system to working with this complicated existence, then we will end up or we are at least very prone to fall into dogma and other people's beliefs on what is right or wrong and how we should eat or how we should live our lives. And then again, we are not living in accordance with our own truth. We are living someone else's, and that does create disease long term. Alright, that's it, good people. Let me know your biggest light bulb moment throughout this presentation in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe to this channel if you wish for more truthful, authentic education on health and self-mastery. Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Love and chi.